We need to completely rebuild. We need to rethink the way whoever the guy in charge is thinks about football.
Welcome back to the Old Bull and Young Calf Boston Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Matt, and I'm here with Bargain Bin Steve Belichick over here. And we are here on one of the biggest days in Patriots history. The coach is no more our head coach. He's going to be coaching somewhere else. And we have a lot to say about that. This podcast is probably going to be pretty trimmed down and focused on that because it is such a momentous thing. My dad's going to tell us the 4 segments we're going to have today. Dad, what do we got?
Yeah, so we're gonna do a tribute to Bill Belichick and our top 10 favorite moments on the old goat. And we've been rough on him, deservedly so, but not tonight. We're gonna give him his kudos and we're gonna give him his praise because that man deserves it. He's worked his butt off for this organization for New England. So we're going to give our top 10 favorite moments of his. And yeah, then we're going to jump into kind of a shorthand of where we hope to see the franchise go from here. There's already strong indications of who the next head coach is going to be and what the plan is. It's not set in stone yet, though. So get our thoughts on that. And then we're also going to do our Wilgers Basement Bets, see how we did last week, who we likes this week in the playoffs, make some money there. And then we're going to talk a little bit about the Celtics. We have some rants there, and we feel like the issues we brought up last week in the hands that they've been dealt by the league have come to fruition. So we're going to discuss that also. And yeah, that's about it. Start us off, Matt.
Alrighty, quick wardrobe change. I thought it was probably better and more thematic. I jumped in with my dad here. This is going to be a pretty Patriots heavy podcast or episode. Matt and I are both going to share some quick thoughts on Bill Belichick. There's a lot to say here, and we're going to have, I think, plenty to say during the second part of the segment when we go over our top 10 memories and moments as it relates to him. But I always say this, people always laugh at me. Outside of blood family, Belichick and Brady have provided me more happiness than anybody on this earth. Um, so many of my memories growing up, my core memories, if you ever watch Inside Out, that Pixar movie, are Patriots moments. And it's because of the effort that Bill and Brady put in over, in their time, which I sincerely appreciate. And it gave me a lot of bragging rights, and it gave me bragging rights for the rest of my life. I'm a Patriots fan. I'm lucky to be a Patriots fan. We all are lucky to be Patriots fans, and we get to tout these 6 Super Bowls, and no one can take them away from us. Super thankful for that. And I know we've been hard on him as a coach, but that doesn't mean anything about his legacy overall. He's brought way more good than negative to the Patriots. Dad, what's your eulogy on Belichick?
Well, as you see, I ditched my signature tank tops and I'm wearing my Belichick hoodie in honor of the man. I mean, what could you say? The guy just he is the GOAT of coaches. I don't give a crap about his record without Brady. You know, we all recognize that they're not winning 6 Super Bowls without each other.
Nope.
Whatever that number is, if one wasn't there with the other, I don't know what it is. But they're not winning 6 unless they're together. Brady's not winning 6 by himself. Belichick's not winning 6 by himself. They needed each other. They complemented each other. And they were two crazy people. I mean, they just
Lunatics.
it is not human to continue to work harder after winning a championship and just do that every year. Yet those two did. It's just human nature to lax a little bit the more you win, and they just never did. They're just two crazy people, and I am so grateful for that. And but the time was right, and that doesn't mean we don't love the man, honor the man, and that is what we're going to do here. So we have our 10 favorite moments, Belichick moments, and I'm going to start at number 10. And Matt, what is your first one?
Yeah, so my number 10, now this one is tough, right, everybody, because Belichick's not on the field. He's not on the camera for some of these. It's just when I think Bill Belichick and things, I'm sure he had a big hand in. These are the moments, and I didn't want to split these two up, and I think they kind of go hand in hand with a few other ones I might not mention here, but I think the 10th moment that stood out to me was signing Randy Moss and the signing of Darrell Revis. Those were, I feel like, two of the bigger signings that Bill kind of went outside the box on. People were like, "Are you serious?" Darrell Revis, he had been shipped to Tampa, bit of a shell of himself. They put him in zone. They didn't know how to use him. He was doing a bit rough. Randy Moss as well. Bringing him in, I think that's probably number 10 for me. What do you think, Dad? What's your number 10?
Well, the first one with Moss was fun, right? That was fun few
Yes.
years getting to see Brady with an elite weapon. Didn't lead to any Super Bowls, so you know, fun doesn't cut it for me. All right, I want it all.
But it
The
was big for
Revis
Brady's
one, what a great
legacy.
signing!
Yeah,
Holy cow! It
yeah,
was. Everyone get to see if he had, Peyton Manning type weapons like Marvin Harrison,
yep.
those Dallas Clark, and had those guys consistently, then who knows what he really could have put up numbers wise. But man, that Darrell Revis signing or trade, actually, what it was, that was just a grand slam. He kind of humbled himself a little bit. He had been doing nothing but bargain basement cornerbacks all those years. And finally, he just bit the bullet, brought in Browning and him, instead of drafting and trying to develop guys and, broke that cold streak we
Got a
had
ring.
10 years without a Super Bowl. Got a ring out of it. Great signing there. Wish we could have kept him, but, you know, Jets have bigger pockets. Revis was a hired mercenary, so that's the way it
Yeah,
works. But anyway, my number 10 is the time when Brady was serving his suspension, and a reporter was adamant with Belichick. He said to him, "Hey, what if Garoppolo
yeah,
looks really good and is winning games?" And Belichick's like, "I already told you, Brady's going to be the quarterback. He's going to be the starter when he comes back." And the reporter insisted on pushing it. He's like, "But if Garoppolo's winning and if he looks
yeah.
really good, would you consider?" And Belichick just put his head down, scoffed, and just said, "Jesus Christ."
You said Tom will start when he's eligible. Can you think of an occasion when you made the five starter in July?
Yeah, I don't know.
Because what happens if Jimmy plays better?
Look, I told you what's going to happen.
So there's this.
Jesus Christ.
Christ.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
what
Drop
he
the
didn't say
JC, guys.
anymore.
Yeah,
He didn't say anymore, but it's almost like he didn't have to. It's like he
yeah,
wanted to say, "We're talking about Tom Brady here, you
yeah,
ass clown."
yeah,
Like, no, when Tom comes back, he's the starter. So
yeah,
whoever that moron was, I'm glad he put him in his place. That was
yeah.
definitely one
That
of
that
my
was gonna be on my list.
favorite
I just
Belichick moments.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I'm glad you take that one. The JC, dropping the JC. So my
Yes.
number nine. So my number nine is a bit more general. I remember the Super Bowl, and I actually told my buddy Andrew I feel bad about the Super Bowl because kind of ruined it for my dad because I ran away crying because it got so loud. But the Carolina Panthers Super
Mm.
Bowl, winning that Super Bowl, um, of course Bill wasn't out there throwing, but I was uh, 9, and I just got very loud at my dad's house on Sutton Apartments over here in Worcester, and I ran out of the room. But Belichick helped orchestrate that win against. I think what I've actually heard like Zolak refer to those Panthers as like the roided up Panthers. Those guys were juiced up like crazy, and it was great to beat them. And I think that's on my number 9.
It might have been the most exciting fourth quarter in Super Bowl history until the Patriots Seahawks came along. That fourth quarter was just back and forth haymakers by each team,
Yeah,
touchdown after touchdown. It was a great game. Clearly, the old bull underestimated how ready little 9-year-old Matt would be to
yeah,
handle one of his Patriot playoff parties, especially a Super Bowl.
yeah. I should have been
Let's put it
fine.
this
I was a
way,
baby. I was
folks.
probably just tired.
When we yeah, well, let's put it this way. When we win Super Bowls, we literally break furniture. That was
Yeah.
a tradition. We actually made, plaques
Wood
out of
burns.
broken
Yeah.
coffee tables. Yeah, so I thought my boy was ready for it. Yeah, maybe needed a couple more years, but yeah, that was a
Yeah.
great memory as well. Absolutely. All right, and so my number 9 was shutting down the new guy in town, Sean McVay, in their 6th Super Bowl. New hotshot offensive guy, the latest, hottest fashion in the NFL, and it still is today. You need that guy. I would take that guy as a coach in a second. And it's like, I love that Belichick not only came up with a game plan to shut down his prolific offense, I think he psyched him out before the game, too. Belichick made it a point to go over and talk to him, and Belichick's being as usual, don't say much, just kind of come off as intimidating. And McVay was just like, it's just an honor to coach against you. And
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
just, I just can't speak. And it's like, I can't help but wonder if Belichick did that on purpose. So, maybe psyching up the young guy McVay and coming up with that game plan to stuff Jared Goff and that
Yeah.
offense. I love that. It was number 9 for me.
Yeah. And I'm going to get to that one. So I'm not going to go too deep on it, but I think that is an amazing moment for him overall, that game. I'll move on to number 8. I think one of my favorite tropes with Bill Belichick was his disrespect for the AFC Championship trophy. If you look around online, there's almost like a montage of like him getting handed it and just immediately handing it to somebody else.
The whole Kraft family, congratulations, Bill Belichick. Gonna get back.
As a backdrop, this helmet is a trophy there.
I know, so excited.
It really goes back to what my dad said about him being an unhinged psychopath, right? Because it just was never enough for him. Elizabeth, my wife, came in and she was like, I don't get how somebody at his age, with as much success and money that he has, still wants to do anything. And the way he treated those AFC championship trophies was a testament to how neurotic he was when it came to complete success in the NFL. And, we were not hanging up AFC finalist banners here in New England like they are in the Indianapolis. So that was big for me. All those moments kind of culminating.
You know what? I forget about that. Matt, right now you have the voice of an angel. I can't even make eye contact with you. Your voice is like a combination of Fergie and Jesus. That
You
is
gotta
great.
know, I'm not just some guy. Brennan, that is the voice of an angel. Brennan, I can't even make eye contact with you right now. Your voice is like a combination of Fergie and Jesus.
Jesus. That is a great one. I forget all about that. I love that.
Yeah.
If he had his way, he would almost say psych and not even like let that
Yeah.
stupid thing fall on the ground.
Yeah.
And it's almost like my best friend Rich Worley. He would buy those trash bag AFC championship hats, shirts, and I get that toilet paper, get that used toilet paper away from me. I don't want anything to do with that. If it does not
I
say
know.
Super Bowl
He used to buy
champs,
division stuff,
get
right?
that out of here. Oh God.
Yeah.
God bless him. I love you, Rich, but holy cow. I mean, come on, you're a Patriot fan. We don't accept you know, it's like fishing through
Bargain
the
bin.
toy
Yeah.
rings at the dentist. I mean, give me a break with that. But yes, that's a great one, Matt. Man, I forgot all about that. That's a good one. So my number 8, we're on number 8, right? So that one
Yep.
for me it was the AFC division round where Belichick had Harbaugh from the Baltimore Ravens
Oh yeah.
absolutely losing his mind, screaming at the refs because he didn't know the tackle eligible rule. And Belichick it was just a stroke of genius. He used it for 2 straight drives to basically go right down the field. And it's Harbaugh just didn't know the rules, and Brady even threw a shot at him at the end of the game, saying, "Well, I should have knew the rules." And he was such a baby about it. Harbaugh,
Yep.
he is the one who told the Colts in the AFC Championship the next week, "Hey, you should check out the balls and the ball pressure."
Yep.
What a baby! I mean, I absolutely love that Belichick just toyed with him and got into his kitchen and cooked up some stinky stew. So that was number 8 for me.
Yeah. I think Harbaugh actually got a unsportsmanlike conduct from that. So that was, just outclassing Harbaugh. So,
That was
um,
great. Absolutely.
yep. So number 7 for me, was,
Number 8. Is it number?
no,
Oh wait, we're
yeah,
on number
I
7.
started. Yeah, number 7. So I already
Ah,
did my 8. So my number 7 is the Patriots winning the Eagles Super Bowl. Um, I recall that game, uh, probably the best out of the first 3 Super Bowls, maybe the Rams a little bit, but you know that offense was pretty special with McNabb and Terrell Owens. I know Terrell Owens had like almost like a broken leg, which was kind of rough, but um,
mm,
beating that
he didn't
team.
play like it.
Yeah, I know he played amazing. Beating that team, I remember the Rodney Harrison. My dad had a big collage of newspapers for each Super Bowl, and like Rodney Harrison, doing the Eagle little celebration from
Down the middle of the field, and the pass is picked off by Harrison. Rodney Harrison.
from one of the newspapers. I forget which one. I recall that one. That was a big moment, I think, in Patriots history, becoming a dynasty officially, and really putting our stamp on that. That was awesome.
Absolutely. Official dynasty victory. That was terrific. 3 out of 4 years. Oh man. Good luck doing that in today's NFL. Might be the last team to do that for a long time.
Yep.
So gonna need you to get the button ready, Matt,
Oh yeah.
the bleep button, because my 7th favorite moment from Belichick was the exchange he had on the sideline with Derek Mason. I don't know if
Oh
you
yeah.
ever
Yeah.
heard this,
I have seen
but he
that. Yeah.
basically, so I'm gonna say it right now. You have to
Yeah.
bleep
Yeah.
it out. He said, "Oh, fuck you, Mason. Just fuck you, will you? Talk to me after the game." And I was
Yeah.
like, man,
I'll try and throw that
what
clip
the
over this. Yeah.
Flacco to throw, looks, fires right. It is completed there for another first down. Made to Derek Mason.
Having a foul on my face all day, coach.
Oh, you, Mason. Just you, will you? Why don't we talk after the game, all right? Just shut the up. Can you look at the scoreboard?
That clip over this. Yeah.
the last thing you ever expect to see Belichick react like that and see him be a pissed off human was just pretty awesome, man. I love that. Man, I wish we had more footage of that type of behavior because that was terrific.
Yeah. No, that's a good one. Uh, my next one, number 6. It's I got to mention something from all the Super Bowls. It was the hug between Belichick, Brady, and Blount, LeGarrette Blount. At the end of the
Mm.
game with all the reporters around him, Blount and Brady are hugging. Belichick comes in, gives them both a big hug. Uh, Blount leans back and says, "That's why you're the effing goat, and that's why you're the effing goat." And and it was really great seeing Belichick because again, he was such a lunatic that you really didn't see true joy with him often. But after those Super Bowls, he really let it hang loose, and you got to see kind of how he cares about his players, how his players care about him. So that those are always special to me. Watching those, those recaps of the game, the sounds of the game, and just seeing those moments, it was really nice.
It really is. So, that's how he was built. Very similar to that winning attitude in New England and Boston. You didn't win it all. You didn't win anything. You ain't first, you're last. I mean,
Yep.
and he showed it in those moments, and it was great to see him truly, genuinely happy. So let's see. My number 6, very simple. We're on to Cincinnati.
Having a 37-year-old.
We're on to Cincinnati. It's nothing about the past, nothing about the future. It's right now we're preparing for Cincinnati.
Okay, do you feel like the talent you have here is good enough?
We're getting ready for Cincinnati.
We got to turn the page. I mean, we're going to sit there and talk about the Kansas City game for the rest of the
Cincinnati.
season.
I mean, they ended up winning the Super Bowl that year. It's going to live in infamy. It's just the Patriots. They had got Revis. They looked stacked on paper, but they were struggling a bit at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
But Belichick, he talked about that season afterwards, and he said, I still knew from the locker room and the group that they were going to be special. We just needed a little more time, and he just didn't want to have anything to do with it. And he loved the fact that they kept fighting at the end of that game, even though they're getting blown out by Kansas City. And it's like he backed up the talk.
Yep.
He's like, on to Cincinnati, we're over this trash. And from there on in, Patriots just basically stomped a mud hole in everyone the rest of the year and won that epic Super Bowl against the Seahawks. And that saying now is used almost worldwide. When someone's just disgusted with
Yep.
something and they're over it and they
Meme.
want to move on, and like, yeah,
We're on the
on to this.
We're on the
Yeah,
spring. We're
whatever it
on
is.
the summer. Just
Yes.
as simple as, and that's actually my number 5. And so we're on to Cincinnati. And I recall being at the Andersons' house with Elizabeth, and I was playing catch, with a couple with a guy over there playing football, and he's like, "How do you think the Patriots going to do against Cincinnati this week?" And Cincinnati was undefeated at the time. We had
That's
just
right.
lost to the Chiefs by like 40, right? It was embarrassing. Trent Dilfer on ESPN, who he has come out and apologized since.
Yes.
It's like they're done. It's over. It's finished, right?
Mhm.
That we're on to Cincinnati, and he still does it today, right? Was just so iconic. And of course, we did go on to
It
win the Super Bowl
was.
that year. So in Cincinnati, and Marvin Lewis ended up pooping their pants because, that's just the way they were built, and we were built different. So, what's your number 5, Dad?
Absolutely. So my number 5, not to get, morbid to bring the mood down, it was the moments when Belichick needed to be human for, sad things. And like the Aaron Hernandez's press conference after that, the shootings in Maine, you know, we didn't get to see that side of him very often. And, again, he's looked at as this like football god figure, and kind of very stoic and robotish. And when those moments come out, it's powerful when you see him like that, emotional, and didn't happen often, but when they did, they moved you.
Yep, completely agree. I know everyone makes it's a meme of him being a serious guy, but I know he has a lot of emotion under there. He's just stoic in certain some ways. Um,
Mhm.
So number 4 for me is the first Super Bowl win over the Rams. Going in there with Tom Brady at the helm. I don't recall. Can you correct me on this? Was Bledsoe ready to play, but we went back to Brady in that Super Bowl? Because I remember, like, didn't he come in for a couple plays against Pittsburgh?
Oh, Bledsoe finished the game. Brady
Yeah,
left halfway
yeah,
through the second quarter with an ankle injury.
yeah. So the balls to keep Brady in and beat the greatest show on turf. Torrey Holt, Isaac Bruce, Marshall Falk, Kurt Warner. Really, just the wheels fell off that whole team after that Super Bowl. Nobody had us beating them. John Madden, the famous call of, they should just kneel, go to overtime. I don't like this.
And now with no timeouts, I think that the Patriots, with this field position, you have to just run the clock out. You have to play for overtime now. I don't think you want to force anything here. You don't want to do anything stupid.
Belichick put a lot on the line there, and like my dad said, winning a Super Bowl does a lot for your franchise. Winning that Super Bowl
Sure does.
was probably the most important thing. That's probably the most important championship we've ever won, because that financially helped the team. It gave Robert Kraft, confidence going forward. It allowed us to have 2002 the way it ended up, and it kept Brady. So, yeah, that was a big one for me. So that's my number 4.
The greatest championship of my life. I did not enjoy one more than that one, that first one. That was just pure bliss, absolute bliss. I did just there's some breaking news. Some of you might know I've done some writing for the Boston Sports Journal, Greg Bedard, in the past, and occasionally has me make an appearance from a fan's perspective. And he had hinted that he wanted me to write something last week in case Belichick was parting ways, and he just texted me back and said, "Send me the article that I've written." So that'll probably be in the
Nice.
Boston Sports Journal tomorrow. So be on the lookout for that.
Congrats
So
to the old bull.
anyway, yeah, thank you. Back to my list, number 4. I absolutely loved how Bill Belichick made Peyton Manning his little for the first half of his career. Now, Peyton got the better of him towards the end, but man, the first half of Peyton's career, Belichick owned that, and it was terrific. Those playoff games, when the Colts were favored, and high prolific offense coming to Foxborough, and when Belichick just shut him down all the time. The Willie McGinnis kind of faking an injury in the dome during the regular season games. It took Peyton Manning forever to beat Belichick. Unfortunately, it happened in the AFC Championship game where the Patriots were up 21-3 at halftime, and the wheels just kind of fell apart. Still bitter about him not re-signing Deion Branch, because I feel like he re-signs Deion Branch, there's no way that we lose that game. Brady has a little more than Troy Brown, because that's all he really had at the time, an old Troy Brown. And, Gaffney and, oh, goodness, like, not good receivers.
Yeah, I remember the Ty Law 3 interceptions AFC game against Peyton Manning, games like that.
Yeah, but
nobody else was doing that.
Man, watching the forehead pout, yell at his own teammates and coming off the field, blaming his receivers. You didn't go. You're supposed to go. Oh, it was great. Man, did I love those times. Absolutely.
Yeah. Heck yeah. So this is my number 3, and you had this exceptionally, like, very low. I think that this is, similar to his game with the Giants against what team did he like draw up a game plan for that's in like the Hall of Fame when he was with the Giants?
Bills.
The Bills.
Against the Bills.
The game against the Rams, the Super Bowl versus Sean McVay, that has Bill Belichick's fingerprints all over it.
Oh yeah.
McVay, I think that was one of the Super Bowls that was almost handedly won by Belichick with his scheme. What we did to Goff, what he did to McVay, the blitzing, the entire defense changing once they knew the headset in the helmet went off, and then Goff had to, fend for himself. Super Bowl, our last Super Bowl, that was special, and we had no business winning that Super Bowl. Our offense was not doing anything, but our defense was so well prepared, and we outcoached them so hard. That was amazing. So that's my number 3. What's your number 3, Dad?
Yeah, but Belichick was responsible for that Super Bowl. Brady was responsible for getting him there. Brady had possibly the greatest fourth quarter in overtime in playoff history at Arrowhead. Horrible conditions against Patrick Mahomes. He was almost flawless in the fourth quarter in overtime against them to get them to the Super Bowl. But once they got there, the offense definitely hit a wall, and it was Belichick who won that game. So no doubt about it. Great game plan there. All right. So let's see. I am on to number 3. Oh man. Just you were too young for this, Matt. And at the time, it didn't even really register much around here, but looking back, it's so awesome. Just the awkward press conference when Belichick basically said "F you" to the Jets. They called him up there to basically announce him as the head coach, and he got up there and he said, I'm I'm turning in my resignation."
We talked last night, and I just went in there and spoke to him and Steve, and I'll read you the statement that I gave to them. Due to the various uncertainties surrounding my position as it relates to the team's new ownership, I've decided to resign as the head coach of the New York Jets.
And,
I
and
gotta
it's just
watch
like,
that. Yeah.
it's great. Like Parcells kind of like was a jerk, set him up, had language, and you know, tried to kind of force him to stay there as his successor and coach instead of letting him be like, "Hey, you go do your thing after all the hard work you did for me as my, defensive coordinator assistant." And Belichick, from what I understand, he basically wrote on a napkin that he resigned, handed it in, and quit right there on the podium. It was just a great moment, and it was just fantastic. Looking back on it. At the time, like I said, it wasn't much fireworks at the time, but wow, what a moment!
Heck yeah. Heck yeah. I know I gotta go watch that back again. I'm sure there's some montages out there. So my number 2, and it's one of those moments where I will admit when I'm wrong, was against the Seahawks. The play where we threw the interception. I think everybody in my dad's house was yelling, "Call a timeout! Call a timeout!" Right?
One has to think about taking a timeout.
When he got down there, I thought about the timeout. I knew they only had one timeout left. And when I looked over there, I don't know, something just didn't look right. They started on, and they started off, and now,
Hey, you're out.
however many seconds had gone by, and I'm thinking, all right, I'm not going to take them off the hook here by taking the timeout. If they want to use it, let them use it. And Matt said, do you want the timeout?
You want to call the timeout? Do you not want to call the timeout? It was a very lonely moment for me because he wouldn't talk to me. He wouldn't even look at me. He was just kind of staring across the field.
Timeout, right? Defense just got, gashed. He doesn't call a timeout. Cooler heads prevail. The preparation in practice the week before prevails, right? Malcolm Butler was ready for the play, knew what he had to do. Browner was ready for the play, knew what he had to do, press up on his guy. He didn't call a timeout, let the Seahawks poop their pants and outcoach Pete Carroll. No offense to Pete Carroll, shout out to Pete Carroll. I know he's been let go as well, or at least been demoted. That was, I think, another big moment for Bill Belichick, keeping his wits about him, not calling timeout, seeing the other sideline, seeing they were in disarray, and letting them be that way.
I was standing right next to you yelling, "Why are they not calling a timeout?" And the video that they did after that Super Bowl talking about it, Belichick said that he was watching their sideline and something didn't seem right. Everything was hectic over there. They didn't seem organized, and he just let that clock run down and keep running and running. Seattle had no timeouts left, and sure enough, he didn't. Maybe if Belichick calls a timeout, Carroll has time to think about his decision to call that play, and maybe he says, "No, I'm not going to throw the ball. I'm going to just hand it to Lynch." But again, I'm always going to tell people this sneaky, important fact that not a lot of people know, because they just automatically assume if they gave it to Lynch, it's an automatic touchdown. Seattle was second to last in the league that year, and 3rd and 1 and 4th and 1. And the Patriots were in their heavy defense, goal line defense, all nothing but fatties basically, and 3 cornerbacks. So would they have gone in with Lynch? Possibly, but I'm telling you now, it was no guarantee because they were second to last in the league in 3rd and 1 and 4th and 1. So, which might have led to Carroll throwing the ball, trying to surprise him. So Just remember that, people. But anyway, all right. So my number
Number two.
two is, oh man. See, Matt, you were close on your Rams, shutting down McVay, being a stroke of genius and game plan being in the Hall of Fame, but really the one that not only belonged in the Hall of Fame, but is in the Hall of Fame, his game plan for stopping the greatest show on turf. That was something. That right there, Patriots were a 2-touchdown underdog. That game was in a dome. No one gave him a chance. The talk was the Rams going to score, 40 or 50. And what he did to that fantasy football team, that living, breathing fantasy football team, Kurt Warner, Marshall Faulk, Torrey Holt, Isaac Bruce. I mean, they're like all first round picks, pretty much. And what he did to shut that offense down, just chef's kiss, Belichick. Gave me my greatest sports moment of my life there, too.
Yep.
God, I'll ever be so grateful. And that's not even my number one. So, Matt, what
Yeah.
is your number one?
I think we both have our same number one, right? I mean, I would be
We
shocked if,
might, now that we're here. And
yeah.
I
I
haven't
mean,
heard you say it.
yeah.
We'll
I
see.
mean, I think so. My number one is just the decision to stick with Tom Brady over the, number one draft pick, large $100 million contract, Drew Bledsoe. I mean, he staked his reputation on that decision, and it paid off infinitely more than I think he ever thought it would. Um, and shout out to Kraft for letting him do it. That was Kraft's money going to Bledsoe. Um, so yeah, sticking with Tom Brady and letting the best duo in professional sports, coach player duo in professional sports history, you know, come together and make it happen.
Well, this is anticlimactic. That is my number one as well. Their, $100 million franchise quarterback comes back from injury, and everyone's just assuming that, he's probably going to get the job back. People weren't sure. And Belichick made the tough decision. And God, what a great decision it was. Fun fact, too, I was one of the dummies. So I remember kind of being on the earlier in the year. No, when Drew comes back, this is cute. This Brady guy's winning, but we're mostly doing it with defense and conservative, good defense, good running game, conservative passing game. And I felt like when Bledsoe comes back, we could really have something with this team. But then I went to the Saints game that year with my friends, saw Brady live, and that was his first big passing game where I believe they won it in overtime. That might be pass to Terry Glenn. And I was sold from there. And I was just like, no, never mind. I want this to be our guy. And so from there on in, Belichick agreed, and thank God he did, because that just set the
That was
wheels in
it.
motion
The
for the
rest
greatest
was history,
dynasty.
Yep.
Yep,
So,
the greatest dynasty in sports history, baby. Absolutely.
yeah, and because of the salary cap and everything, this will continue. This will be the greatest dynasty, I think, again, like ever. So, and I think Kraft alluded to that in his in his press conference. This does not happen. This should not have happened. There's no reason it should have happened, but the stars aligned and the two best people to ever be in their position were together and they made it happen. It's not going to happen again. Patrick Mahomes will not repeat this. I don't care who you are. Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes are not it. You need Tom Brady. You need Bill Belichick. You need that fanatical obsession with success, and it's nowhere else. And it was here for 20 years, 24 years for Bill Belichick, and we reap the benefits of it. So, yeah. Any final thoughts on the Bill Belichick segment, Dad?
Nope. Part of my article that I wrote, I didn't include this in there, but it is, God, it is a shame that we didn't see that side of Belichick that I know exists, his humor side. People would tell you when the cameras were off, no one was looking, he was a funny guy. And we saw glimpses of it now and then. Man, what a ride it could have been if he was, instead of being, you know, kind of a jerk to the reporters, if he had some playful back and forth with them. If he just played a little ball with them, man, that would have been great to see. Talk about really being, an iconic figure. I mean, he already is, but can you imagine if he let his true personality come out along the way? But he never did, because he always thought, stay humble, take the other opponent serious all the time, and
Yeah.
he just didn't ever want to give him bulletin board material, and he kept everything business-like. But you know,
Yeah, and that was the mythos of Bill Belichick. It might have won us a Super Bowl against those Rams that second time, right? So, the larger than life. I'm the greatest, but I'm humble. So, yeah. What is it? Don't cry that it's over. Smile because it happened. Um,
yes, I like that.
yeah. Overall, yeah. I think that's it for our Bill Belichick segment, Dad. Can we move on to segment number 2?
Let's do it.
Okay, so segment number 2. I think I was listening to some sports talk radio today, and they talked about how the Patriots doing anything next year past maybe 6 or 7 wins is just not feasible, and the reason why is because we're going to have to replace both tackles most likely. We're going to have to replace. We're going to have to bring in brand new. We have to bring in a top wide receiver, quarterback, GM, uh, coach, defensive coordinator, offensive coordinator. Um, all these things leading up to the fact that we're probably going to have a struggle next year. Um, and I'm ready for it as a fan. And I think overall, hopefully, we still have some grace left in the tank for whomever is decided to be our coach. Um, my dad and I would have rather had a successful time with Bill Belichick um, for the end of it until he retired, and seen him get the record here with the Patriots. That, of course, didn't seem like it was feasible for the long term. And we are the most attractive GM and head coach destination in the NFL, in my opinion. We have the most cap space next year. We have the number 3 overall pick. Um, Someone can come in here and orchestrate something amazing if they have a future, idea in mind. Now, my dad mentioned this. There is some rumors out there that there is a candidate that is, you know, more likely than others, and that's Gerard Mayo. Gerard Mayo could be hired without any other interviews of anybody else, and it could be a short, boom, easy swap out. In my opinion, I'd be kind of disappointed. I really would like to see our team with an offensive minded coach, especially bringing in what we hope to be the franchise quarterback for the next, X amount of years. And oftentimes, if you have a defensive minded coach and you have a great offensive coordinator, that offensive coordinator gets poached. So I'd rather have the coach be the offensive guy, because just like Ben Johnson in Detroit, who's pretty much the hottest commodity out there, um, that could happen to us. We could find if we could find a great coach in defensive, we could find a great offensive coordinator, and then next year our quarterback has to go through what Mac Jones went through, where he lost his offensive coordinator second year. So what I hope to see for the franchise going forward is, sadly, I hope it's not Gerard Mayo as our coach. And a big reason why is because I want fresh offensive instincts in our head coach position. Because we saw this year, defense doesn't win. The NFL has changed. It doesn't feel great to say, but we need offense. And I'm hoping it starts there. And I'm hoping we get a great GM. I know that the biggest GM candidate is in final interviews with the Washington Commanders. Hopefully he doesn't go there. Hopefully we get a swing at him. I know we're kind of starting late. So those are my thoughts, Dad. What do you think? What do you hope to see from the franchise going forward?
Well, it's going to sound like I'm patting myself on the back, but I'm not because I really was hoping I was wrong. But I said that at the beginning of the year. I don't know if you remember that. I said I
Oh
guarantee
yeah,
Mayo was going to be the
yeah,
next coach, and
yeah,
I don't want that. I'm in the same boat that I also wanted the Detroit Lions offensive coordinator as number one guy, bring in the new hot commodity on offense because that's where the league's headed. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like we're getting that. And I mean, if you're going to bring in a defensive guy, I would rather Vrabel only because he has experience. And sometimes coaches do better on their second turnaround. I mean, look at Belichick, right?
yep,
Did very average at Cleveland, then he came to New England, and look what happened there on his second go around as a head coach. So, but Kraft's a man of his word. It looks like he made promises to Mayo, and it looks like that's where it's going. Luckily, the reports are saying that they're looking to team him up with a GM because if you're going to go with Mayo, which it looks like they are, by far my number one priority for the Patriots is getting somebody in here who is good at player personnel. We need a complete redo in the draft, our mindset when it comes to drafting, and we get a bunch of cap space. We have over 70 million, like third amount of cap space out of anybody. I want that money spent wisely. I want us to get the right guy at number 3 as far as the future quarterback goes, the franchise quarterback. If if that GM doesn't think that quarterback's going to fall to him at 3 and he needs to move up 1 or 2 spots, I want him to do what it takes to get that guy if he's confident that's the guy. And then I want them to use the rest of their draft picks and all of that cap space to build around that quarterback, protect him, put him in the best possible position to win. So my number one thing is a player personnel guy, a guy who is up to the analytics of today and is picking players based on today's NFL, not 1980 NFL. My number 2, and it's a very close number 2 to number 1, is bringing in an exceptional offensive coordinator. Whoever the next hot guy is, right underneath another good offensive coordinator, get that guy in here, run his scheme. I don't know. Maybe can we steal the offensive coordinator to the Dolphins, Mike McDaniels? I mean, say what you want about the Dolphins. You got to love that offense they run. I mean,
yeah,
it's the future of the NFL. I mean, I think he calls the plays probably, but I don't know. Do they have an offensive coordinator? Bring the next guy in. Bring someone, some up and comer, because that's a big deal. You need. I don't want O'Brien back. I don't want Josh McDaniels back. I just don't. I want to
yep,
go in the direction that the NFL is going in. Those guys, McDaniels, his offenses are too complicated. You're going to bring in a rookie quarterback to learn that off his offense, and then receivers have been known to struggle with his offense, learning his offense as well. I don't want that. O'Brien, you know, not good this year. I understand his players were a dumpster fire around him, but still not impressed there. I thought he was going to be a lot better than he was. Fresh blood. Get the fresh blood in here and redo it all. That's what I want. That's what I want to see.
yeah. Especially since we're moving away from the goat, right? So don't replace the goat with a watered down version of the goat. Like give us something fresh, give us something exciting, something new. Mayo is just, I like Mayo, but I don't know how much. I don't know if I like him enough to go through losing Belichick, right? To seeing, I don't know if losing Belichick is if getting Mayo is worth losing having Belichick coach somewhere else. Eh, I'd rather,
Yeah.
and I think it almost goes back to my thoughts about Brady. I'd fine mortgage the future, let Belichick ride it out, and do what he has to do because at that point at least it's Belichick. If you're just gonna replace him with Mayo, it's just like, what are we doing here? Now I got to watch Belichick go coach the freaking Atlanta Falcons and have you know Belichick light coach the Patriots. It's like, come on, get something new in here, make me excited, give me some hope. I'm not saying Mayo's going to do a bad job, but I don't see him doing a good enough job to reason losing Bill Belichick and having Bill Belichick go celebrate his record somewhere else. And that's just kind of me as a fan. I
It's
don't
a
know.
great point, Matt. And another concern I have is Belichick's coaching tree has been terrible.
Terrible.
Terrible. Guys who have worked under him and have gone on to coach have been a complete disaster. And then you have Mayo, who's really been under him for a long time now. Does Mayo break that trend? Because it really hasn't been one successful head coach that used to work under Belichick. Not one. Bill
Correct.
O'Brien was the closest thing in Houston. Made the playoffs a couple times. God, like it's scary. I'm with you, Matt. The Mayo thing, I like him. Liked him as a player. Great dedicated guy. Like I'm hoping something similar happens with Houston. Like that situation feels a little similar. So I'm hoping they catch that type of lightning in the bottle. But man, there are concerns there from Belichick's coaching tree, and this guy's been on Belichick's tree for a while. So we'll see what
Yeah,
happens.
we'll see. We'll see. Uh, it's, I want to get excited for, for football and get interesting, and, going to Mayo, I think is just so boring, just a boring move.
No.
So, again, thank you, Bill, for everything. Thanks, Pats fans, for tuning in. We're probably going to have to go over our 90-50-10s for the season next week. This kind of hit us, and we had to talk about Bill. We had to make the podcast about him. So here we are. So yeah, I think we'll move on to segment number 3. One of our shorter segments. We're going to jump into the Wilgs Basement Bets. Dad, do you have a recollection of what happened last week with Anthony's bet?
Actually, I don't. Do you?
Yeah, I can tell you the reason why it's not top of mind is because I buried it, emotionally, because I'm pretty sure he got absolutely smoked.
Oh,
So
again? Oh,
yeah,
two
it was,
weeks in a
what it
row?
was.
Oh
He
man,
thought the Bears were going to win outright against the Packers. I think, but the
that's
Bears had
right.
+3, I think, and they lost to the Packers. My dad and I were texting about that game. That was an important game for the Patriots draft situation because we wanted Fields to look
Yeah.
good. Fields ended up pooping his pants in the second half and doing almost nothing. So yeah, Anthony this week has a new lock for us. Even in the playoffs, he's stepping up. So narrows the game down, helps him focus. So Anthony, take it away. Let us know the lock for this weekend.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another week of Wilgs Basement Bets. We're on a cold streak, 0-2, past 2. We're going to bounce back this week. Love the bet. It's going to be Rams +3 at the Lions. Rams win outright. They're the much better team. Lions have no defense. Rams getting healthy. I think Rams win this one easy. So Rams +3, lock of the week. Let's toss it in. Let's win some money, and let's have a weekend.
All right, there you have it, folks. He might be on a 2-game losing streak, but keep in mind before that he had won 5 out of 6. So he just needs to heat up again, and it is playoff time. So probably going to start right now.
Yeah, and we talked about this earlier. Jared Goff pooped his pants in the playoffs when we faced him. I don't know if he's been there since. And so now he's coming back against the Rams, against McVay. This team knows him. Aaron Donald right up the middle.
That
And you
is
got these
good.
Rams. Stafford's, he's, similar to, okay, no, I don't even want to say it. Stafford's one of the older guys, right? So he's made it to the playoffs. He's got his Puka Nacua. He's got Cooper Kupp, Tyler Higbee. So, maybe then that's when they turn it on, right? This is when the games matter. So we'll see. I like the pick. So,
Yeah.
all right. So we'll move on to segment number 4. This is going to be a short one. And, for any of you parents out there with newborns, this is going to be very akin to, the crying newborn baby sounds that you hear often. Because that's what we're going to do here. My dad and I are just so livid about this Celtics game that happened on Thursday night. It is right now Thursday 11:03. Talk about a scheduled loss. The Celtics have played 5 games in 7 days. They've are on the end of it, which is 3 games in 4 days. All 3 games required a flight, and they're going to their biggest rivals in the Eastern Conference. At least from a standings perspective right now, and those guys have been at home since Saturday night. They've played 1 game in those days, and it was against the freaking Jazz, which we blew the doors off of. The Jazz are a joke. I know they're a bit of a hot streak, but they beat the Jazz by like 16 points, and here we are coming off an overtime victory over one of the best, if not the best, defense in the league, and we got to go to Milwaukee and play. Are you kidding me? A rested Milwaukee team. And what an embarrassment for the NBA. The NBA, Thursday Night Football is gone, everybody, right? The playoffs are here. NBA's, it's their time to shine, and they freaking blow it with this scheduling loss. Like, the product that they aired tonight on their big time Thursday TNT NBA on TNT was so bad for ratings, I'm sure, because pretty much every Celtics fan, Dan, Jesse, all my buddies, my dad and I don't know if you turned it off, but most of us turned it off. So I'm sure their ratings look horrible, and they should be embarrassed and they should feel bad because Silver screwed us. My dad, I'll let you take the boxing gloves, Dad, and talk about some of the things that piss you off about the schedule.
I mean, it's disgusting. And, you're not, I put this on one of the Celtics posts on Facebook, and, some people agreed. Some people like, oh, give me a break. They're in
Losers.
their private jets. They're in their private jets. Travel is travel. I'm sorry. And the fact that the Celtics were at home last night and then had to fly to Milwaukee tonight, it's just what they played Minnesota last night. They were better off playing Minnesota in Minnesota. It's a shorter flight from there. It's 5 out of 7 games, like you said, Matt. And if you go back and look at their schedule, they have so many of these home, road, home, home, road, home, home, road, home. Like, what do you do? Like, who made this schedule? It's just you're supposed to have home stretches, road stretches, and for some bizarre reason, it's almost like the NBA made their schedule for every team except the Celtics, and then they were like, "Oh well, we get to fit these Celtics games in. So what nights we have available? Oh, just put them here, 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 here." Surprised they don't have 3 games in a row at some point. So they've already played 7 back-to-backs this year, and the season's not even halfway over. So, I mean, I get whatever. I'm a crybaby, but they had no chance tonight. I mean, it didn't help that they had to fly from Boston yesterday after playing a tough Minnesota game in overtime. But even if that doesn't go to overtime, they didn't stand a chance. Not with Milwaukee playing 1 game in the last five days, and that was a home game. So the Celtics looked beat. I mean, everything was off. Their shots were off. Everything was off. Passing, dribbling, you name it. And luckily, again, Missoula, we're pretty big Missoula bashes. Not tonight.
Not
He
anymore.
benched the entire starting lineup in the second half. Thank you, Missoula. That would have been, the Celtics were not coming back. They were down by almost 40 at halftime. It's just clear as day it wasn't their night. So no sense in risking any injuries to the starters, putting any extra miles on them on an already long season. Good job, Missoula. Proud of you. That was a good decision. Some of those players probably didn't like that because it hurts their stats, and that's just today's NBA. They're all like that. But the right move, play the bench the rest of the way, and get home. Well, you better get home because guess what? You got 1 day off. You got to fly back to Boston. You got 1 day off. You got to fly back to Boston and play again. On Saturday. So get ready.
And my dad mentioned what Joe Mazzulla did. And I'm thankful for Joe Mazzulla because somebody has to get our players rest because the NBA is certainly not doing it. So kudos to our coach for stepping in and saying, you know what, Adam Silver, you're not going to give us rest. I will do it. I'll do it on your freaking nationally televised game, your game of the week.
Love it.
I'll get my players rest. You freaking loser. So yeah, no, I was absolutely livid by that. And like my dad mentioned, he posted on some fan pages, and we do appreciate all the views we get from the fan pages, but there's these people on there saying, oh, it's not that big of a deal. They're traveling, they're living life in luxury, blah blah. It doesn't affect them. Jason Tatum, after last night's game, right, they won that game. He was quoted by Jay King on Twitter. Jason Tatum said this: I read somewhere that we've got the easiest schedule remaining. I don't know when that bleep gonna start. And he's tired. Whether you think he should be or should not be, it is understandable as a human being to be tired. He put 45 up last night, and now he's got to get on a plane. He has to go back to the locker room, answer all these stupid questions, right? Get on a plane. Well, go to Logan, get on a plane, fly all the way to Milwaukee, get off there. It's like, and then play the second best team in the East. It's like, come on, get out of here. So no, that pisses me off. And the Rockets are going to be playing us on the second night of a back-to-back. So, I'm not delusional here, people. I understand that every team deals with this stuff. I don't think it's okay when other teams deal with it. Trim the season down if you can't figure it out. But putting this kind of product out there and not aligning rest just makes for an embarrassing showing from either team, right? The Celtics have benefited from this season, and it hasn't felt great when they beat those teams. And now other teams are benefiting from it with the Celtics. It's like, I don't know what they want. I don't know what the NBA wants out of these games. But I know for sure they don't want what they got when it came to the ratings of this game. So yeah, that's my
How hard is it to, if you're going to do back to back, they have to both be at home?
Yeah.
How hard is that? Make that the rule. If you're going to do back to backs, you have to be at home for both those games. I mean, or not make 3 out of 4 nights. I don't know why that's so hard, but apparently, whoever the schedule maker is in the NBA is an idiot. So never mind. Any quick thoughts on how the Celtics got robbed against Indiana at the end of that game, where the ref? I mean, that trash. Give me a break. The replay, and it's what makes it worse is the ref called a foul. The ref called a foul. The play goes to review. You're not supposed to reverse it unless there's irrefutable evidence that it did not happen. The replay shows that guy hitting Jaylen Brown in the head, and they reverse it. And then they have the balls. They have the gall, these referees, to go down, let them go down the other end, give them the ball, and then call a foul on Porzingis with basically no time left to give them the win. Like, what the hell was that? If that wasn't some of the most shady crap I've ever seen.
And what this did was it really shined a light on the fact that the last 2-minute report has become a complete joke, because the last 2-minute report validated that call, and then they said the Porzingis call was not a foul. As a fan, the Porzingis play was a foul. That was a foul, right? Well, I mean, it was. I wouldn't be mad if that one was like correct call, but it's like, wait, they're saying that wasn't a foul, and they're saying that the Jaylen Brown thing also was a foul. It's just like,
Makes zero sense.
Yeah,
Zero sense.
shout out to Joe Mazzulla for laying into him. And what's funny is Joe Mazzulla said that the last 2-minute report came out at 4, and it actually comes out at 5. And then he came out in his press conference today or yesterday. No, it was today. No, it was a couple days ago. And he said that I'm sorry for being wrong. I will own up to my mistake because accountability is important. And he just kind of like a sly little, knock on those referees. So, and then he also mentioned his favorite scene from the movie The Town, is not the whole whose car are we taking. When the guy's like, let's go rob this bank, and it's not like why or what, it's just whose car are we taking. His actual favorite scene is the main character on his way out of town leaves a nicely folded note on the FBI agent's car. And the scene is the FBI agent going up, opening the note, and on the note it says, "Go F yourself," with the words spelled out. And that's Joe's actual favorite scene. And I think it was the perfect time to bring it up because he was talking about those freaking refs. So those refs can go F themselves. What a joke.
It's not just the refs, it's the replay. The
Yeah.
replay actually, I think, makes the
Refs
reversal.
overall can go F themselves, yeah.
So like the league, I guess the league office, I just don't know how you justify that. I don't know how somebody's not in trouble. The replay showed a guy getting hit in the head as he's shooting. That's a foul. Even if you get a piece of the ball, that's a foul.
Yeah. That happens at Dean Park in Shrewsbury. That's getting called. How does that not get called in an NBA game with slow-mo replay? That's an absolute joke. And you know what the ref told Jalen is that he just straight up didn't see Jalen get hit in the head. And it's like, oh my gosh, you guys are a joke. And then Buddy Hield telling Joe Mazzulla, I fouled him,
Yeah. The
shout
guy
out to
admitted
Buddy.
it.
Shout out to Buddy for doing that. Honorable.
Yeah.
Also, I know LeBron James tweeted about it, and he was like, "Wow, like Jaylen Brown got hit in the head. That's a joke." And then LeBron proceeds to go to Toronto and get like 25 free throws in the fourth quarter to the 2 free throws of the Raptors, and then he's like, "Oh well, we just didn't foul them, and they fouled us." It's like, you kind of wish the NBA, the players would step in. I recall, I don't know if you remember this, Dad. I was playing Little League way back in the day, and we were playing against reliable Maytag, and we had an umpire who was missing an ear. And the umpire,
he was notorious there. Yeah.
Yeah. So he was umpiring our Little League game, and I don't know, he didn't like my dad or something, and he made a bad call, and he was making bad calls, and he threw the ball. The ball was hitting the dirt, and he was like, strike. And the other coaches on the other team who was benefiting were like, no, that wasn't a strike, man. What are you talking about?
Yes.
You're doing something shady in this
Yeah.
freaking little. And the umpire actually, I don't think he left. He left after that. He was. So it's like
he was gone after that. Yeah,
Yeah.
because even the other coach verified. What he was doing was he was purposely making bad calls, and he was looking at me because he wanted to throw me out.
Yeah.
So he was making bad calls on purpose, waiting to get a reaction out of me so he could throw me out, and I didn't give in. So it got so bad to the point where the other Little League coach is like, "What is going on here? Like, what are you talking about? He just
Yeah.
threw that ball in the dirt, and you call it a strike." So
Yeah. The players got to band together. They got to be like Little League coaches at
They
Vernon
do.
Hill Little League, Lou Gehrig Little League. They got to
Yes.
if they're mad at the refs, get mad at the refs even when it benefits you. They don't don't be like freaking LeBron. LeBron's such a loser. I can't stand LeBron. Such a hypocrite. He should have came out and be like, yeah, like that actually was shady. We benefited from it, but it was shady. But no, you just can't do that. So I would love for the players to put their money where their mouth is, and not just complain when they're on the losing end of it. And I think that's probably the only way things will get better is when the refs were like, oh, well, even the guy helped out said F me. So, yeah.
That'd be nice.
All right. Rant's over. We started off with sadness. Then we went to joy and jubilation of the past. And then we got angry. I think
All
that's
the
the podcast
emotions.
said. Yeah. And yeah.
Like
all the emotions.
like Inside Out. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we talked about core. Yeah, this podcast is sponsored by Inside Out, obviously, because we're doing all the emotions. I mentioned the core memories. Pixar, let us know.
We want that Disney money, yes. No final thoughts here. Thank you again, Belichick. We love you. You'll be missed.
Yeah. Good night, everybody. Go Pats. Good luck, Phil. Bye-bye.
I don't know. Oh, where to begin?